Do you ever get that feeling? A craving for something specific? A taste you can almost remember, but you know you can't have it? You can walk down any grocery store aisle in America and find thousands of snacks, but the one you really want? It's just not there. It's a ghost, a delicious, crunchy, sugary ghost from your past. I'm talking about the snacks that defined a generation. The lunchbox legends, the after-school icons, the sleepover staples. They were everywhere, and then they were gone. Poof. Vanished from the shelves, leaving behind nothing but a craving and a question. Why? Today we're opening up the Snack Food History Vault. We're going on a journey to remember some of the most beloved, discontinued foods of our childhood, and we're going to uncover the real business reasons why they were cruelly ripped from our lives. Get ready for a major dose of nostalgia. Alright, let's start with a true heavyweight. If you were a kid in the 90s, the absolute pinnacle of lunchbox currency was this little plastic tray. I'm talking, of course, about Dunkaroos. The concept was genius in its simplicity. You had a handful of small, vaguely animal-shaped cookies, usually vanilla or cinnamon graham, and a separate compartment of pure, unadulterated Technicolor frosting. The most iconic, of course, was the funfetti-style rainbow sprinkle frosting. This wasn't just a snack, it was an activity. The ritual of peeling back the film, the strategic rationing of your frosting to make sure you didn't run out before your last cookie. It was a skill. It taught us resource management. Dunkaroos, made by Betty Crocker, were a phenomenon. They ruled the 90s, but as we entered the new millennium, their presence started to fade. By 2012, they were completely gone from shelves in the United States. The official reason? General Mills cited a decline in demand and a shift in their US portfolio. Basically, we, as a nation, stopped buying enough of them to justify their existence. For a while, you could only get them in Canada, leading to a smuggling ring of nostalgic Americans bringing them over the border. But this story has a happy ending. After years of fan petitions and social media campaigns screaming for their return, General Mills finally listened. In 2020, Dunkaroos came back. It's proof that sometimes, if we complain loudly enough online, our dreams can come true. One sugary, sprinkle-filled dream at a time. The late 90s were all about being extreme. Everything had to be bigger, louder, and more in your face. And that philosophy extended to our chips. Regular, flat, 2D Doritos were for your parents. We had something better. We had the future. Introduced in 1998 with one of the most memorable Super Bowl ads of all time, Doritos 3D weren't just chips. They were a geometric event. They were these puffy, hollow, triangular pillows of corn that delivered an explosive crunch. The flavors were intense. Nacho cheesier, zesty ranch, jalapeno cheddar. They felt futuristic. That crunch was everything. It was a combination of crispy and airy that regular Doritos just couldn't match. And because they were hollow, you felt like you could eat 100 of them, which we often tried to do. So what happened? These were insanely popular. Well, by the mid-2000s, the novelty started to wear off. The manufacturing process for these puffed-up chips was more complex and expensive than making a simple flat chip. As sales leveled off, Frito-Lay likely looked at the profit margins and decided it just wasn't worth it anymore. They quietly discontinued them around 2005. Now you might be saying, wait, I saw those in the store. And you're right, sort of. In 2020, Doritos brought back the name Doritos 3D, but it's a different snack. It's more like a puffed corn snack, similar to a bugle. It's not the same airy, crunchy pillow from our childhood. For those of us who remember the original, it's a classic case of, they just don't make them like they used to. Let's talk about packaging. Sometimes the container is just as iconic as the food inside, and nothing, I mean nothing, beats the satisfying shh pop of opening a can of Planters Cheez Balls. These weren't your average bagged cheese puffs, oh no. The can kept them impossibly fresh and crisp. The texture was sublime. They would literally melt in your mouth, leaving behind that glorious bright orange cheese dust on your fingers that was impossible to get off. Planters Cheez Balls were a pantry staple for decades, from the 70s all the way into the new millennium. Then in 2006, they vanished. No grand farewell tour, no big announcement. One day they were there, the next they were gone. The culprit was Kraft Foods, which owned Planters at the time. They were streamlining their product lines, and the cheese balls and their cousin, the cheese curls, got the axe. The official reason was not enough consumer demand, a phrase that haunts the dreams of snack food lovers. The outcry was immense, and it lasted for years. People were desperate. Finally, in 2018, after a 12-year absence, Planters, now under a new parent company, bowed to the pressure and brought them back as a limited release, which has since become more permanent. It was another victory for nostalgic foodies, proving that the power of the people and our wallets is real. So we've seen a pattern here. A beloved snack disappears, and the company usually blames low sales or shifting priorities. But what's really going on behind the curtain? There are a few key reasons. First, the health craze. In the 2000s, there was a massive push against trans fats, high fructose corn syrup, and artificial colors. Many of our childhood favorites were loaded with this stuff, and reformulating them to be healthier would change the taste profile that we loved, making it a risky move. Second, complexity and cost. As we saw with Doritos 3D, some snacks are just more expensive and difficult to make. When a company is looking to cut costs, the complex, lower-margin novelty items are the first to go. Third, and this is a big one, corporate mergers and acquisitions. Big food companies are constantly buying and selling brands. When a brand like Planters or Jello gets a new corporate parent, the new management reviews every single product. If a snack, even a beloved one, doesn't fit into their new synergistic vision or meet their profit targets, it gets cut. It's not personal, it's just business. Brutal, cheese ball depriving business. We've only scratched the surface, of course. There are so many fallen soldiers in the snack food wars. Remember Jello pudding pops? The frozen pudding treats that Bill Cosby sold us on? They disappeared because Kraft sold the license to a different company that couldn't replicate the recipe profitably. Or what about Keebler Magic Middles, the shortbread cookies with a soft fudge-filled center? Gone Oreo O cereal? Vanished for a decade before making a comeback. The list goes on and on. These foods aren't just snacks, they're edible time capsules. They transport us back to a simpler time, to Saturday morning cartoons, to trading food at the lunch table, to a time before we had to worry about things like profit margins and corporate restructuring. But now, I have to turn it over to you. This is the most important part. What's the one discontinued snack you would bring back from the grocery store graveyard? Was it a candy bar? A soda? A weird flavored chip? Let me know in the comments below. Let's create a memorial for all the great lost snacks. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, do me a favor and hit that like button. It really helps the channel out. And if you want to explore more forgotten history and pop culture, make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell so you don't miss what's next. Thanks for watching. Stay nostalgic, stay curious, and maybe check the back of your pantry. You never know what you might find.